Hi sister, today is a drugstore makeup tutorial step by step. My skincare has been helping me clear my skin and I'm very happy to see improvements. But the first thing we do first is we like to lock our brows in place. I have very bushy brows, so locking them in place kind of helps the entire makeup to last all day. So to do so, I like using my edge control for that. If you're not a fan of using edge control, it's perfectly fine, do as you please. But as for me, I like to go first with the edge control, especially during summertime. It just helps, the oily face to respect the brows. As for my drugstore pencil, I'm using the Nika K New York drugstore pencil. I got this at the beauty supply store actually, and for the color, I like to go with something that's like a shade lighter than my actual hair on the brows. I've learned that when you go with something more lighter than your actual hair, it tends to look more natural and more, less harsh on your face. So yeah, I just go in with that. I usually focus more on the ends of my brows and then like the inner corner where I tend to accidentally shave off whenever I'm doing my brows. The next step is the cleanup process. I do this because it just makes everything look so good. I like to go in with a concealer that's a little bit more lighter than my actual skin tone, just to give it more of a highlight, and it just cleans everything out, especially whenever I don't get a chance to get my brows done. You can definitely see how bushy it gets. So when I go in with the concealer to just line everything up, to clean everything out, it actually makes it look like I did my brows. Usually whenever I'm teaching a makeup class, I always get questioned about why doesn't my brow look like the other brow. That's because your brows are not supposed to look identical. Your brows are supposed to be cousins and not sisters. So some people have brows where one brow is usually larger than the other. That's because that's just how the Lord made you. Some people have perfect brows, but even if you do have perfect brows, whenever you do your brows, you'll notice that they don't always come out looking identical. So it's okay if you are noticing that, unless you drew your brows funny looking. But usually whenever you do the correct step, you'll notice that one brow is usually arched differently, and some people try to create that arch with the other brow, and it sometimes becomes either a fail or a success. But as for me, I've learned to just accept my brows as they are. So one is usually arched and the other one is usually just there. So that's just a friendly reminder that whenever you do your eyebrows, unless you did them wrong, but if you did them correctly, your brows are cousins and not sisters. Next is foundation. I love using this sponge right here as my foundation applicator, and for my foundation I'll be using the Maybelline Fit Me Matte Foundation, and I am the color 356. I love using this as an applicator other than my brushes. I find that this applicator right here is very well for those of you who have acne scars and you're trying to give a drugstore foundation more of a full coverage. So as a makeup person, I try almost every trick in the book, and one day I came across this little sponge right here and I decided to use it as a foundation applicator, and my whole life changed. I would highly recommend you to give this a try. It definitely does not waste your foundation compared to the beauty blender. I feel like the beauty blender tends to waste a lot of my foundation, especially whenever I'm trying to do full coverage. With this, I don't have to add so much foundation and it gives me exactly what I'm looking for, unless I want to do a really big, full coverage. Don't look at my acne scars, but I wasn't going for that today. Kind of like a lightweight, but it still gave me minimal type of full coverage. I highly recommend you to give this a try. If you haven't used this as a foundation applicator, definitely give it a try. I love setting my foundation with a pressed powder after I'm done applying the foundation. I find that it tends to lock my entire makeup in place, especially since I'm oily to combination skin. It just brings everything together. And you're trying to figure out, why does your makeup move during the day? Maybe you should try this step. It would definitely help your foundation last all day. I've noticed that whenever I don't do this step, I just look tired. And whenever I apply this step, it just makes my face look a lot more awake than usual. Now you can stop with this shade right here, or you can go ahead and add another highlight, which is a shade lighter than the shade that we used before. I like to do both because of the fact that I feel like the neutral shade is just more like of a, just like a base, and then whenever I apply something a little bit lighter, I look more awake. Personally, I like this step, and I tend to recommend this step a lot to most of my clients who are getting into makeup. If you want that, celebrity touch up to your face, or Dr. Miami to your face, I highly recommend you to try to highlight underneath the eyes. It just does something to your entire face that I cannot explain. Like, when you are tired, it makes you look more awake. Whenever you're exhausted, it makes you look more awake. There's just such a glam that goes into this entire step that just brings your makeup together without having to question what is it doing exactly. It just does the job. I love setting my highlighting areas with a pressed powder first. I find that my under eye tends to crease less, and it just gives me that finished look before applying my setting powder. So if you have creasing under the eyes even after you apply your setting powder, I highly recommend you to do the pressed powder first before you apply your setting powder. This just gives your under eye to last longer, and I've learned that even whenever I have those like crying moments, nothing moves. It's amazing, especially during the summer. This step right here has been my best friend. So yeah, if you have oily skin or you tend to crease underneath the eyes, I highly recommend you to give the pressed powder a chance before you apply your setting powder. My next step is contour. I use a bronzer as my contour stick. I no longer use a darker shade of foundation. I've learned that whenever I use a darker shade foundation as my contour applicator, it tends to bring more of a harsh, darker lines compared to actually giving me that definition that I'm looking for. So using a bronzer has definitely changed the game for me, because not only is it actually contouring and I can actually see the contour, but I'm not seeing that really harsh dark line. It just blends everything so smoothly, and it gives me more of a bronzy look than that darker foundation shade that I did not like before. And I'm very happy that the Lord delivered me from that dark shade of foundation as my contour line, because whenever I took pictures, I could definitely see that harsh dark look, and it was embarrassing. So yeah, I do the same thing with my nose. Usually I do less of this with my nose with a cream. I normally do a powder, but today was one of those days where I decided to test the waters and went in with a bronzer cream on the nose. And one place I like to focus more is usually like my eyebrow area. Of course, we have to blend to melt everything together, but the key is actually setting spray. So, to blend everything together, I highly recommend you to spray with a setting spray. So, yeah, I use two different setting spray. I use the NYX New York, it's like a primer setting spray, and then I go in with my Revolution setting spray. Like, it just melts everything together. And this right here is just one of those things that I love doing. I use a bronzer as my everyday eyeshadow. I highly recommend you to give it a try. If you have never tried it, it just wakes your entire eye up. I'm going to keep saying this because it's the truth. I don't know, something about using a bronzer as your eyeshadow just does the job. So the same thing I did with my eyes, I'm gonna do the same thing with my nose. I like just creating a definition that I have a snatch nose. It might not look like it to you, but to me, I see the difference. I really do. And I just like setting my cream with powder. It just lasts all day whenever I set my cream with powder, and that's just that. So when it comes to my blush, I am new to this whole I'm new to this whole cream blush thing. At first, I thought it was just like, another trend. But when I actually tried it, I was like, oh wow, this is actually something good. We have started something here, and I'm here for it. So I've been using a cream as my base before applying my cream blush powder, and I've noticed a huge difference. I think cream is just one of those, I don't know, it's like one of those things that just brings the look together before you lock the look in place. So I'm using the Juvia's Place cream blush as my cream powder, and then I go in and I set my cream powder with the Juvia's Place blush kit. And yeah, they're two different colors, and I absolutely love that because it just gives me that bronzy look without doing the most. So next I'm going to lock in my contour cream with the powder. I like doing this because it just brings definition to my face that was kind of faded away with the cream, and it just, you see that it's bronzing the look. It's bronzing the look. That's what we like. My favorite mascara of all time. This is by Maybelline, and I am obsessed with this mascara. I am one of those people, I don't like to wear false lashes every day, and I need something that gives me like I'm wearing a false lashes without wearing false lashes in my everyday look. And this mascara does the job. It's perfect. It is perfect. Go and give it a try. That's all I'm gonna say. It does a wonderful job. Now, my lip liner is it depends on the day. Today I wanted to use my bronzer as my lip liner. This is just a tip for anyone who wants to give this a try. I highly recommend you to do so. I think using a bronzer as a lip liner has definitely changed the game for me, and it does last all day, believe it or not. So yeah, give your bronzer a chance and use it as a lip liner, and I promise you she won't disappoint. One of my favorite lip gloss of them all is the Butter Balm by Ruby Kiss. This is like a different version of the NYX New York, NYX New York, or New York NYX. Oh Jesus, what's it called? The Butter Gloss by New York, NYX Cosmetic. I think it's NYX Cosmetic. Girl, yeah. The disrespect is real. But yeah, this lip gloss right here kind of dupes that, and it's only $2.99 at the beauty supply store compared to NYX Cosmetic Butter Gloss. If you know the price, you know the price. And yeah, so to lock everything in place, I use the Milani 16-hour wear setting spray. This is just to lock everything in place. But if you don't want your makeup to move all day, get you the L'Oreal Mist Spray. This is like the dupe version of the Patrick Star Mist Spray, and I absolutely love this. It keeps my makeup set all day. Nothing moves. I will have to touch up here and there, but nothing moves. This is the look, and I hope you enjoy. If you like it, make sure you let me know down below. Press the like button, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.